Commissioners, would you like to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, we will right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have much business or too much mail. Don gave us a note from Steve Arabo that he said he will continue on the Hunter Fire Board, and Don was also telling us again we need to try to call these people back and fill who we can with the rest of those open positions.
And I did attend the Web Fund meeting. I'm not sure if I reported that last time, that Jason Dole relayed that he would like to stay on. We had that position open and no one else applied.
And Willis Becker came into the office with their budget and he said he would be willing to do it one more time.
Did you hear that, Don?
Or
Alexis?
I just didn't hear the name. Who was it?
Willis Becker, Don stated, would continue to do it. Okay. And we don't have any other mail, Don, except we got a handout here from the North Central Regional Planning Commission, just a flyer for the three of us, and no other mail or bills that I. Go ahead.
I have received a communication.
Okay.
Art Howell came in and he wanted us to provide a resolution to support his Convention of States effort, and I informed him that we do not generally support or endorse any of those sorts of things. I was speaking as myself and not as the commissioner, but he did ask of the commissioner, so I present it to you to see if you wanted to support him.
I don't know, Alexis, you have an opinion on that?
I am a personal supporter and an advocate for Convention of States. I think it would be up to the board to have a discussion on whether or not we wanted to officially support it. Basically, it would be sending a message, I suppose, to the state representatives as far as what we would assume that they should do on our behalf.
Well, I personally don't think it'd be appropriate for the commission to do it. Individually we can do it, but I don't think the county commission ought to be sending a resolution up supporting it.
Well, I will respectfully disagree, because I think our government was set up so that if our constituents tell us that they would like something, we relay that message to the state, and we start the demands from the bottom and go upward. But I will agree with you that I don't believe the commission should do that at this time, because I don't think we have the constituent request to do so. So instead of 3 people saying that our county supports that, maybe we need to actually ask the people who voted us in if that's something that we should be messaging to our state level from them.
Yeah, maybe in the future. That'd be good to ask our constituents that, because yeah, us 3 now saying to do it. We only had one individual requesting this. I agree,
Right.
kind of agree right now with Jim that individually we could support it, but as a commission that we're setting county policy for that, maybe a little premature. But if most of the citizens of the county would be for it, I would go along with it then.
Right.
You know. Because it is constitutional, it's part of the Constitution. If we don't think our federal Congress is doing their job, and the president, this is a part of our Constitution which says we got an action, we can take an action to go, not against them necessarily, but to address our concern about it.
Well, the idea is to invoke Article 5 of the Constitution to make certain demands for the federal government. And right now, the things on the table are financial constraints, which would be requiring a balanced budget, not continuing to create a deficit with overspending, term limits on seats in the House and all of Congress. And there was another one that is slipping my mind right now. But I do think it's a noteworthy cause. I just believe that we need to, individually advocate and see what we can bring back to the table.
Yeah,
or not advocate if you're not a proponent of it, but
yeah. No, that's something I think we could discuss later.
yes.
But for now, I wouldn't
Is there-
be for any resolution for
Is
it.
there any more mail?
No, just the,
So I,
no more except for that.
okay, I just have a request under correspondence. Have we received any applications?
For, highway director,
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Don
I
said
don't know how
yes.
many, but yes.
Okay. Just wondering, I'm just making sure that that we have some sort of response. I think the last time I checked, we did not.
Okay. And also on correspondence, I'll just say, and Alexis, you may know this, and some of these other people may know it too. I went to, through the Kansas Association of Counties and through the National Association of Counties, they offered a visit to the White House because the White House was intergovernmental agency, was offering like 5 states were involved to go to Washington and talk to President Trump's primarily his cabinet people and the agency people. That gave us a direct contact list of if we have issues, we can go right to FEMA, right to Homeland Security, right to Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior, and so forth and so on, and other people. That way we wouldn't always have to go through our Congress people and our senators. So I thought that'd be very educational and very well there. I went there and had a meeting with them, and we did have Vice President Pence was in on it, and also some of the Secretary of Interior and Agriculture. So that was very well, I thought it was very good. And it's also very good too that we got contacts, we can get to some of these people and right into the agencies directly. So I just wanted to report I did that over the last week here.
That is wonderful. I think it's a huge step in the right direction for people on the ground.
And I got
access.
a list of all them, Alexis. I got Jim one here and I got you one. I gave Don a copy of what it was and all these contacts, their emails and phone numbers.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for going
Well,
and
yeah, and
representing our county. That's wonderful.
Well, and I enjoyed it. There was about 15 other commissioners from Kansas went, and there was a bunch from Nebraska. And a lot of them, of course, had the FEMA issues that we addressed because of all the flooding from Nebraska, Oklahoma, and that was their big concern mostly. But yeah, it was, and I'm not going to bill any of this to the county because I'd never been there before, so it's partly vacation for me too, because that's the first time I've ever been there and saw the sites. So, but it was also very good, I thought.
So thank you for going.
Well, sure, no problem. I enjoyed it. And that's all I have to report. And I noticed you're back east too. I see. Yeah.
I am. I'm with family right now.
Okay. Anyway, that's all the other we have. I have nothing else. I guess. And at 10:45, I guess we'll have the highway. Well, that's
10:15, we have Leann.
Oh, I got the wrong deal here. Yeah, we have 10:15. We have Leann Bishop here coming in. And
There was another piece of correspondence, the email that we received with the clarification from the company PIC, the benefits management company.
Yes.
I do think we need to discuss that.
Okay. Yeah, that's Dawn.
I didn't print it off, but
Yeah, you emailed us back
Yeah.
about what Rhonda said. We had an issue about the commission they would charge, and if they wouldn't have no incentive to lower our rates if they would get less commission. She said it doesn't work that right way. Is that how you understand that also?
What I understand it to say is that the insurance company, whoever the insurer ends up being, and let's use the example of Blue Cross, they're going to set the rates for our group, not the benefits management company. So basically, our rates determine her commission, and our rates are set by the company, which makes sense. And my only response to that is just as long as we make sure that that particular, we can't leave it up to the clerk to make sure that the company is contacting our employees, doing the meetings. And one thing I did like about PIC better than Hub was that she wanted to do quarterly reports to the commission instead of semi-annual.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit more helpful because you do lose track of things through the year after a couple months go by and you have new issues. That I liked. If you are still, we've already voted on PIC. If you're still determined, I think we need to move forward with the paperwork at this time.
Well, I I had one that I want to say something here about. We had last Monday, we had some of the highway department employees here talking to us, but they had an issue too about if we changed. They had like their Blue Cross they got now. They're getting it through the state now, and they're afraid if we switch to say PIC, and they could even go to Blue Cross, that it wouldn't be the same Blue Cross, and they wouldn't have, that may cost them more, and they maybe would have worse deductibles and so forth. That was a concern, and I was wanting to talk to Rhonda about that, if we could get a transition, say, to Blue Cross from what we got, very similar if we go with her. That way our employees feel secure that what they're getting isn't a loss or something.
Our goal is to make it more affordable all the way around. I think the main concern, which is probably true, is that their points that they've acquired this year through their healthy living program won't roll over, and I do believe that's true. Dawn, do you know?
They will not roll over.
Correct. That's what I believe. So, unfortunately, I think that's the downside to this. But overall, that to me is not worth signing up with the state for 3 more years.
Well, and I think hopefully PIC will be cheaper too for the county.
Right.
And so we might find that will get a discount because it will be less, but.
We don't know.
And she is gonna bid Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, she'll go out and reach out to those companies, so you guys will have some choices.
So I think at this point in time, we've already taken the vote, and we need to just give John the instruction to go ahead and pursue the proper paperwork through PIC.
Yeah, it's fine with me. Jim, do you have
I say pursue the paperwork.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
We've already got a motion.
We made a motion, didn't we? Okay. Sounds fine with me. Go ahead with it. Any, well, it's about 10:15 here, and Leann's not here yet, but,
Do you wanna do minutes?
oh, here she is, right here. Leann's here. Do you have anything else, Alexis, you want to discuss before? Leann's here, but do you have any?
No, sir.
What?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Leann's here. Leann, you're welcome, and
Thank you.
give us, and Alexis, you just put one on. She's given us a sheet here of the quarterly,
Okay.
and will show us what we got here. Do you want to state what you have or anything, or?
I have the treasurer's motor vehicle report for the quarter and the idle fund interest earned report. County fees hovering $20,913.89. Pittard $1,028.90. Children's health $183.49. The fire department $734.63. Reappraisal $1.49. Water recovery $1.63. And wind farm $11,494.05.
So the $4,398,483 is our total in the wind power fund. Or is that total?
Yes.
How much are we getting now from them a year, or is it, do you know? I know it's went down every year a little, right?
I can't tell
You can't
off
say,
the top
okay,
of my
that's
head.
fine, I can
could
check
go
with.
look.
Yeah, well, people are asking me on that, what we originally got, and then it's been going down over the years, or, every year. Don gave me a list on that way back, and I have that, of the wind power monies that we get.
As I can reprint it for you.
Well, I have it at home, probably in a pile somewhere. Thanks. Do you have any issues or concerns with any of this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Do we put most of all our money in CDs in our local banks? Is that by law we have to do that? They have to be in some secure place, which is government insured.
covered by
We couldn't,
pledges.
we can't put our county budget in A.G. Edwards and put them in a mutual fund and make 10%. That's not legal, is it?
No.
Somebody was asking me about that too, and
No.
I said no, because you told me that before, and I thought, no, we have to be in it by law, isn't it? Some secure, insecure that's government insured.
And we have to have pledges on top of what's FDIC.
What's a pledge? What's that mean?
Certain banks are guaranteeing they'll cover.
Oh, they'll
the
cover it.
money
Even if
the bank
FDIC
fails.
only shared 100,000 and you got $1 million in there, they'll pledge that they'll cover it all if something bad happens.
They'll cover the remainder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have
Mr. Lohman,
Yes.
there's an entire section in the state statutes about the restrictions on government investments at the county level.
Okay.
That, to me, that is definitely something that needs addressed to our state level Congress because it takes the power away from the people investing their own money. And the whole idea is, well, you know, you don't want to risk it, but in my opinion, you're electing people to do what you tell them to do with your money as a constituent, and by the state putting restrictions on your investments, they're limiting the ability of the county to be self-sufficient or to generate its own income with the money they've already collected.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a concern that if we put it in a mutual fund, and then like 2008 happened, it would have a crash and you'd lose half of it in a week, then we would be in financial stress. That's probably the fear.
I understand that, but it also puts a restriction on the market for investments. I mean, it works both ways.
Oh no, I wish they would. If it would be up to me, if I was the king of Kansas or whatever, I would say let's put a portion of it in mutual funds, say 25%, and say 75% in secure instruments like CDs. That way, then we could maybe make a little more, and if we did have a bad catastrophe economically, we wouldn't lose everything. But that's just me, you know, and everybody has their opinion on that, I guess.
Do you have a scheme for varying the amounts, the length of time for the CDs, so that you vary your income so you
I
cash them
try.
out when you need them?
I'll try.
Okay, I figured that was the case with what it
But
is.
sometimes you have to go for the best interest, and
I
that's
understand that, yeah.
sometimes a lengthier CD.
As a footnote, all the CDs I cancel or cash in, I pay the full value, there's no penalty. But they probably wouldn't do that for us, would they?
Well, unless you withdraw early, there's no penalty.
Even if I withdraw early.
Aren't you
On-
special?
On death, you don't have that problem. So when we take a CD out for the funeral home, we take the maximum interest you can get no matter how long it is, because they pay the full rate. But they probably wouldn't do that for us unless the consolidation of counties comes into play. And then they would.
I asked you before, Leann, about this Della Petard bequest fund. I know there's 580,000 in there, and Lincoln County Children's Health Endowment Fund, 250,000. We rarely use those funds, is that right?
We use the children's a little bit more than the Pitter, because Pitter can only be used for the cleft palate.
Oh,
And we've had one that I'm aware of
wow.
in the last 30 years.
Too bad we can't, well, I shouldn't say you.
I think the children started out from the Pitter's interest, I
Oh,
believe is how that started.
okay. Well, that's, do we, well, I haven't looked it over extensively here, but do you have any questions or anything, Jim, or?
No, it'd take me a while. to
I
do
don't
this.
have any issues with this. Do we need to make some emotion or something to approve this, or we just, nothing, just, oh, okay, I didn't know a policy here.
It's just a report.
Just a report, okay. Well, that's all I have, Leann.
If you have questions later, Jim, you give me a call.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, on the agenda next would be Derek Waller from the, EMS Director.
While we're waiting on him, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting with one minor correction.
Okay.
I think Trent's name is spelled with an E and not an I.
Trent,
Trent.
the guy who resigned
Yeah.
from the highway department.
No, it's an I.
Is it an I?
He's actually Trinity.
Trinity, okay.
Then the highway department report's wrong. I knew somebody was wrong. Anyway, I move we accept them as written then.
Okay, I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the July 22nd, 2019 minutes. Are there any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alexis, are you there? I don't know if we lose her.
No, sorry, I.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Motion carried. All three said aye. All right, approve the minutes. Now we'll talk to Mr. Walter. Derek's here, Alexis.
Okay.
So Derek, what?
All right, first order is we just need to bring one individual up to speed on pay, salary. I don't even think that's closed or executive or anything. No. I wanna bring Rod Reese up to $15 an hour. He's a paramedic. That's pretty much
Okay.
expected level right there.
What is he now?
Rod,
14 and a half.
Oh,
1405, because he's working for the sheriff's office, and we never set a pay for the ambulance, so I think we need to set a pay
Yeah.
for the ambulance side, and then we'll pay it accordingly, how it works out, so. But he is a paramedic, so I don't think his dispatcher pay should be the same as his paramedic pay.
you're right, it should be more paramedic pay. Did you hear all this discussion, Alexis?
Yes, you're saying that his standard rate is for not the paramedic job, so we need to set a different hourly rate for his work when he works for the EMS department, correct?
Yes,
Right. And I think Ladonna said now he's making what, 14.05, and Derek recommended like $15 an hour.
and he would only get that pay while he's on the ambulance,
Right.
when he's taking.
He would only get that pay
Yeah.
when he's on that EMS work.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I move to approve Rod Reese's hourly wage at $15 per hour as paramedic in the EMS department.
I'll second that. So it's been moved and seconded to raise Rod Reese's EMS salary to $15 an hour. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 None opposed, motion carried. All right, Derek. anything?
Okay, the other issue is with respect to contracts and stuff, and so we gotta go into executive. I just wanna discuss some levels that it's gonna cost us for all that on these two individuals.
I may suggest that if, Mr. Walter, if you are bringing forth a contract that you'd like us to approve, I believe this can be an open session unless you have two that we need to debate over.
Yeah, I think we better discuss that, Alexa.
Okay. Okay. I move to recess into executive session for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing EMS medical consultant contracts pursuant to KSA 754319 2B.
Number 3.
You'll have to help me. Number three. Is that negotiation with or without an attorney?
Yeah, with or without the party present, you want me to read it?
It's on board.
It's
I believe it's number 3.
to discuss employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the public body or agency.
To reconvene in the commission room with the commission, the clerk, and the EMS director.
I second the motion.
How long was that motion for? I missed that. 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Jesus.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for 10 minutes for the purpose of to discuss employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the public body or agency. And all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Gave Derek, or what, you know, yeah, you're
Room
gonna,
to move.
yeah, room to move on what
All
we're
right.
gonna do. Thank you.
Thank
Derek.
you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Ladonna's gonna be here in 5 minutes, I guess.
Are we gonna schedule a meeting one of these days, special meeting for discussing Lincoln Park Manor? Are we gonna wait till the lady from Kansas comes down and visits with us, or what?
I believe that is next week.
Did we had any response? We sent that letter out, right, to the KDAD's secretary, and have we heard anything back on that? Alexis, have you?
I have not,
And Don's
but I believe
shaking.
it was addressed from the courthouse.
Yeah, Don's shaking her head that she hasn't either. So we need to really hear the response from her, don't we? I know, Jim, I agree, Jim, we need to work on Lincoln Park Manor and figure out what we need to do there, and I agree 100%. But we were going
Well, I believe next week's agenda, we have the afternoon dedicated to that, correct?
I thought we had, I haven't seen.
yeah,
it.
next week, Don's shaking her head, yes.
Yeah.
Next week we'll tackle that, or start to really get serious on that. We
Well,
need to,
I think the commission can discuss its position, but again, that's all contingent upon what we hear from the Secretary of KDOT.
yeah, right, the status of the licensing issue is very critical to how we pursue this. And whether we have to use Grace's license, the existing one, or a new one, possibly, and that's a big issue here. Because if we get a new one and they grandfather us in with our old facility, we won't have to deal with Grace. We can just get somebody else to manage it when this lease is over. That's my opinion anyway. Maybe I'm wrong here, but that's what it looks like. But anyway, that's where we stand, I guess, on that for now.
Is there anything else we need to be?
Well, I
working
talked about some of these other commissioners while I was on this trip about nursing homes and how they operate them, and some of them own them, but they have a board, kind of like our hospital board, that is appointed, and then they manage it. Like you was gonna do that, the 501c3, right, Jim? We could even make it a 501c3, because then you'd be eligible for grant money too and stuff, right? Well, we could do that. I think that's a good, maybe good to pursue that, because then they could get, there's monies out there for supporting a nursing home, so maybe then it wouldn't all just, we'd worry about if we have to subsidize it as a county, and also if the operators make enough money to keep the doors open, we wouldn't have that fear. If we could get some grants and other things, because that was money out there I've been told about, for the hospital too. There's grant money out there. I don't know if we pursue that very well, if Mr. Granthal does or not. But maybe he does, I don't know.
I don't think you can use grants for day-to-day operations.
No, for not operational stuff. Have to do it like for facilities updates or something.
Yeah, and I think your clients have to pay their share of the current operating expenses as you go along.
Yeah. You're probably right. See, maybe you should be appointed to the hospital as a commissioner. But, well, I'm in there now, and I don't know much about running a hospital.
Good work.
Well, I don't know about that. Because I'm pretty.
What if we invited the surrounding county hospital administrators to have a meeting or some sort of informational session for our sake? Because I think, our knowledge is limited, and maybe if we got a different perspective from some of the surrounding counties, or choosing a county that's similar to our size and our structure, what if we ask them to share some information? Because I actually know there have been just our regular constituents out there wondering what some of the scenarios are and how this plays out, and they've been able to contact other hospitals and other county-owned facilities and ask questions. And I think we've all had individual conversations with other counties, but what if we ask to actually have them attend a meeting and just as Mr. Gableman suggested, an afternoon to discuss Lincoln Park Manor? What if we set aside another afternoon and try to contact 2 or 3 different counties and have them share information with us? Would you be opposed to that?
No, I'd be for it.
Yeah, I think we
I
need
mean,
to.
I think reinventing the wheel here is something that we don't need to do.
Right. I also talked to a commissioner from Phillipsburg who has been there many years, and he had some input on the hospital. And I think now we're involved in this Great Plains group. I don't know. It's a group of different hospitals are in this Great Plains Authority or whatever it is. And he was saying they got out of it at Phillipsburg because it got too expensive and this and that. But I don't want to talk in detail on it because I don't know all the specifics, and so I'm not. But there is a lot of information out there. I think if we could ask for it, that'd be good. You're right, Alexis.
Let's see what the state has to say first.
Yeah, that's true. We need to go with what the license issue is, because that determines how we can go ahead here.
Have we heard anything from the county attorney about our request for an as-built for the roads in the Wilson Lake thing?
Michael will be in here. Well, I don't know if he'll be here today either, will he? He's supposed to be.
It's a standing appointment, so.
Well, hopefully the highway department may have some more input on the Wilson Lake issue.
Well, what we were waiting on is the report that we were to get from Schwab Eaton, correct?
Well, but we also asked for an as-built drawing, so we compare that with the original plat to kind of figure out what roads belong to us and what roads are driveways that belong to somebody out there.
Well, I think we directed the highway department to go ahead and utilize Schwab Eaton to give us a professional assessment of the landslide, but then on a separate note, to deal with the entire situation out there, we were going to create an RFP, a request for proposal, so that we could get a new plat drawn, as you said. And I think, I'm wondering, do we have to have an engineering firm do that, or is that something that a surveyor can do
You
as
can get
well?
surveyor, and the county attorney was tasked to do that for us, to write a letter, figure out who's gonna do it. And she was talking, surveyors, can do this
Okay.
as well as an engineer. But I didn't know
Okay.
whether she'd sent a letter out yet or not. We have Ms.
Yeah, I
Reinert
have not
here.
heard.
We need to talk about healthcare for a little bit.
Actually not, department head meeting.
Welcome.
But yeah, department heads, I knew that.
Ladonna's here, and,
Okay.
yeah, Tammy, Alexis.
Okay.
So, go right ahead, Ladonna. Thank you.
I will give,
We got one for Alexis, I was giving her pile.
oh, that's my copy, sorry. And I'll give her.
Yeah, you can give Alexis
Oh,
some.
no, that's her copy. Sorry. These are my copies. Okay, we met on Thursday, July 24th. All the department heads were present, calm down, except for Highway, EMS, and Sheriff's Office. The first thing we talked about was you wanted some recommendations on the merit raises. We discussed that due to the confusion and the different forms and no clear guidance until some of the evaluations had already been done, our first recommendation is to give 25 cents across the board raise and work on this again prior to next year because none of the guidance was clear. The second...
May I ask a question? Since the commission through the clerk's office did provide a standard form and it was not used universally, why does that constitute poor guidance?
Because the forms were first given out early in July because they were due at that time. And then the date changed to January, and then the date changed to March. And some people had different copies of the evaluations that they pulled up. And some of the evaluations aren't even done yet. So how can you make a recommendation when you haven't finished your side of the job? Just with all the confusion.
What evaluations are you speaking of that were not finished?
I don't think the refuse is done. Not refuse, recycling.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, we had Ray and.
Okay, they are?
And Strut in here.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago.
I
Okay.
think Jerry Philbrick is left to do.
Jerry Philbrick.
Jerry, okay.
But you haven't talked to Ray or Strut either, so.
Yeah, you haven't talked to them. So how can they be done if they haven't been talked to?
Because what we decided to do is not invoke the increase until next pay, which gave us time to go over exactly what we're going over today.
Right, but you haven't talked to those two employees yet. So their evaluations aren't done if you haven't talked to them yet.
Well,
Oh, we
that
did.
would be August 26th.
Well, we did talk to Ray and Strut a couple weeks ago.
No.
No, she's saying they weren't brought in. Like, we brought in Mr. Doe, we brought in Mr. Philbrick, we discussed and finished their evaluations. We did the paper evaluations on the recycling center. We have not brought them in to sign their evaluation.
Right.
However, what we did was extend the deadline to the August 26th pay so that we could perform all of those functions.
Right, and we're just saying that deadline has moved 4 times in the last year, and there's a lot of confusion with it to the department heads and to the employees, and that was our first recommendation. I'll tell you our second, was to assign A to 25 cents, B to 20 cents, C 15 cents, and D 10 cents per hour, to visit with the department heads again and let us rank our employees based on the valuations that we gave them. That's our second recommendation. And then we'd like to talk again in September. We decided to meet again in September about evaluations in 2020, maybe bring some different forms forward and talk about it a little bit more. If they're going to be done on, based on anniversary dates or yearly, or we also felt that unsatisfactory employees should be reprimanded or retrained in a timely manner and should be evaluated as an ongoing process. We don't think the yearly evaluation form necessarily is to show that there are unsatisfactory employees, because that should be done during the year. Anybody want to add anything to that? Nope, nope. Those are our 2 recommendations. So,
I agree with the second recommendation. I think it gives the department heads a little more control over their own department, and it evades the necessity of the commission trying to create a curve.
Do we have, like they were recommending here, Alexis, to give 25 cents across the board, or an A, like assign an A, B, C, D?
Yeah, I was referring to the alphabetic ranking.
Well, I don't know, did we have enough budget to give this much out for what they're wanting now?
your budget was 25 cents for each person.
Okay.
We did plan that for the budget, but we had been talking about doing the evaluations. And I would just like to say, I appreciate everyone's willingness to participate. We did have a lot turned in very late, so I know that there's frustration about the due date and everything like that. Being that this is the first time the commission actually required it, I can see why it's frustrating and it's taken more time, but I will say there are departments that did not even turn them in on time, an entire department. So it wasn't fair to do it the way that it's been done, because some people did it when it was required, some people waited, and it was after the deadline had expired. The commission itself, it's been a it's been a process to get everything done, and even to determine who is actually under our purview. Because in the past, that was never defined. So I do think we're creating some clear definitions, and that's all positive. On the backside of that, it says in everyone's job description as a department head that you are to evaluate your employees. So if you department heads have not been evaluating them all along, all these years, that doesn't always fall on the commission. It does, and that's why I brought it to the table. However, in the past, I never saw any evaluation. So I will say it's all steps in the right direction. And I'm going to suggest that we move forward with the department head's recommendation for creating an alphabetic ranking.
For next year or next, what, for next evaluation period?
Well, I mean, I think they're suggesting it for right now. We have everything on the table as far as numerics. You know, we've done a ranking system by percentages. Given that certain I think the sheriff's department didn't even use the
They had their
same
own.
format for their evaluation. So really, I mean, it is skewed. But if we go back through each department and instead of giving them a percentage, they get ultimately it works out the same way, because if you get 90% and up as an A, then there you go.
No, our suggestion is that the department head decides who's an A, B, C, or D. That the percentages aren't necessarily what they should be ranked on.
But what is the commission going to say when they see that a department head gave someone with a 50% an A?
Well, I would say that depending on how the department head evaluated and used the form, they could have very good employees that are getting a 50% or a 60%.
Well, there were not very many 50%, so that's an extreme example. Excuse me.
I'm afraid that's always going to be an issue because it's a subjective ranking. Like you may be different ranking your employees than Rhonda does hers, or Dawn does hers, and the highway department does theirs. So there's always going to be an inconsistency on the ranking system.
That's why we did away with merit raises years ago, was for exactly that reason.
But it's not fair to the guy who really works hard too to not get any more than the guy who screws around all the
Well,
time.
the guy that screws around should be taken care of and either straighten up or be gone.
Well, that could be true too.
So you're kind of proposing that the department heads apply a bell curve to the raises for the personnel in your department.
Yes.
I think that's satisfactory. Then you can't come in with 5 employees and you have 5 A's. You have to separate by a
Well,
little
no,
bit.
I'm not saying that
Correct.
either.
That's correct.
No, I'm not saying that either. If you've got 4 people that you evaluated that are all within 1% of each other, not saying that either. But I'm saying if you truly have someone you think should get less than the other, you can rank them that way.
And to play the game now, to play this game now sounds like everybody's going to be ranking their employees really high so they all get the high raise. So there's no real objectivity on this evaluation.
There wasn't to begin with, I don't think.
Well,
But
we tried
I don't know.
to. We're
Somebody else speak up. I'm just
What-
here.
What if we would rank our employees and put what we think they should make versus what your percentile did? And we bring them to you and we go into executive session and we have a discussion and you guys can say, why did you rank them 60%? And then the department head could kind of evaluate why they, in executive session, why they chose what they chose over their employees and why they did the evaluation that they did.
In other words, you could rank your own and explain what you think they should get, and
And
then explain why to us why this person should maybe get a little more than this person. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then if you guys disagree, then you have a venue to say, I
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yes, I agree with that, because I think what that does is it gives the commission a better perspective on the department heads themselves. It's not necessarily about the commission overseeing individual employees as much as relaying what is happening within the department through the department head and making the department head accountable by giving an explanation. I agree with that. That sounds like an ideal situation.
So we'd get rid of this ranking system then, and you just have a.
No. What we did was we saw the individual numbers. for everyone, and we saw what the scope is of how, I mean, we're not naive. We can tell within each department where the scale lies, and there certainly was a strata. And so with that, you can kind of view where you are. Then when the department head comes in and says, hey, this person may be in the lower end of this particular percentage point, but I want you to bump them up raise-wise because I think they deserve rewarded for the improvements that they made in this particular year. Do you see what I'm saying? Overall, they may have not overachieved, but the improvement, we're trying to associate the raise with the effort. So if they're still not top-notch because they have more to learn, they may not be getting a high numeric number, a 95%, because they're not that proficient. But at the same time, if they put in much more effort this year than last year, then they want to be rewarded by getting an A, is what I'm going for. Does that make sense?
Kind of. So where are we here? Do we want to go with what Ladonna just promoted, or something like Don was talking about, or what?
I think each commissioner has a spreadsheet of the actual percentage ranking up to 100%. And I think what we need is a report from each department head with a letter beside each employee. Then what we do is we compare, just as Don said, we compare the letter ranking that they gave them to the percentage that they got, and we choose the actual dollar amount, the coin amount raised.
What do you think of that, Ladonna? You guys have any input on that? Rhonda?
I think it's
Leann?
fair. That's fine.
Okay. Do we need a motion we can't really have a motion. This is not really well, maybe we can.
I think we just need a request to go out to each department head to please provide an alphabetic ranking beside each employee for the commission to inspect alongside what we already have as a spreadsheet on their evaluation score.
And to give them a raise based on that grade ranking?
Well, we're going to compare the two. It's like I said, if someone is already overachieving, I mean, they've reached that highest pay scale for this particular year in their raises. But if someone has a lot more improvement to do and they've only improved a few things since last year, that would be noted by the department head. I mean, you have to admit, a lot of the notes in the evaluations were very detailed. So for anyone to say that the evaluations don't serve a purpose, that's asinine. It gives a lot of insight into what the common issues are within the department, especially the self-evaluations. It's very interesting to see how the employees view their position. And then when you get a chance to speak to the department head about the evaluations, you get a sense of how that department head runs his or her expectations. So it's very valuable. And I think, attaching the dollars and cents to it is what gives it verification.
What kind of deadline are we looking at for the department heads? So then that way you guys have plenty of time to review with the department head.
Well, 2 weeks should give us enough time to get that done before the pay period.
Okay.
2 weeks?
So I will tell them by August 12th. Do you want them on the agenda to present it, or submit them and then we'll meet with them on the 19th, or?
Yes.
Okay.
You want them on the agenda for the 12th, Alexis? 19th,
Yes,
okay.
we need to receive it on the 12th and then speak to them on the 19th.
Review them on the 19th, okay.
That gives us a chance to look at them as a group and then speak to the department heads and make our decisions on the 19th, which would be in time for Dawn to adjust paychecks that go out on the that she begins preparing on the 26th.
Okay.
Ladonna, thank you for organizing that.
Okay.
Are you gonna continue to have those every month, or
We talked
quarterly?
about again in September.
I think that's a good
But-
idea.
Yes.
And I'll try to
We'll
attend.
have more things, because we do wanna, we're not done with the discussion on the evaluations. We'd like to ask some other counties and look at some other forms and see how it's done before next year. And what your expectations are next year we would like clear guidelines on that, how that's gonna happen next year.
Well, I think this particular commission can give you much clearer expectations because you have to remember, in January and then again recently, it's been an entirely different board. So
Right.
I understand the frustration with the confusion, but that's part of the job.
Okay, we do have a few questions. We want to know, what is the status of the purchasing policy that reflects individual county departments? Will that be a policy or a resolution, and who is responsible for producing that document? Or were there motions made that we're supposed to just go from?
You mean purchasing all of your supplies, equipment,
Anything that,
anything?
well, my department is like $500 if it's not a normal purchase.
Oh, you mean anything under that, you can just go ahead and do
Right.
without asking
Right.
us permission for
But,
it? Okay.
you know, I don't know that there's a policy or a resolution that says which departments can do what. And is that coming?
Don,
So my understanding is that there was once a purchasing policy, but that got tied into another elected official's department. So was that ever rescinded, Dawn?
No.
So we do have a purchasing policy on the books, and the only thing that needs to be clarified is that it does not apply to an elected official.
Yes, probably.
So it already
it's at
exists as a
$250.
resolution.
It's at $250. Is that where you're gonna do every department, anything over $250 we have to ask permission for?
like the highway
Are you
department,
requesting us to change it to 500?
I already did, but nothing has happened, so that's my question, and the other departments have the same question.
I think the highway department's even higher now because, isn't it?
Where is it written?
The highway
That's our
No,
question.
it's only written in the resolution that exists that was debated through the sheriff's department under the Nylander case. So ultimately, it already is on paper, it has existed on paper, and it's never been edited. So what she's suggesting is that we amend or change or rescind and then reestablish the purchasing policy resolution.
500 from 250.
Well, whatever you guys,
Well, do you need,
or,
are you being restricted now because 250 is too low and you'd like to be able to spend more without coming to us all the time?
yes.
Well, that's fine, we can raise it probably, fine, because
But other departments might have other numbers. We didn't talk about numbers. We're just wanting to know if the policy is gonna get updated and who's doing that.
So it has never been updated, it still exists from that time period.
Correct.
So please ask the department heads to give us their numbers, and we will either rewrite, I suppose it'd be more proper to not rescind, but maybe override that resolution with a new one.
or edit it, can't you?
I'm not sure.
Or
I'd have to look that up.
amend it, probably. But whatever, we could change it to make it up to date for what the departments want now, or review it at least and go from there.
Who are the big spenders, you and the highway department?
Yeah.
So,
No,
what we
I'm
need-
not a big spender.
well, yeah, but what I need to know is what you need for a limit and what the highway department needs for a limit.
I think we've expressed that. in
Well, highway department's
previous-
not higher, cause they might
I
go
don't know
out and
what
buy a
it is.
$5,000 item. We don't have to micromanage you, you have to call us every 10 minutes whether you can.
Well, that's what I'm
Spend
trying to
money,
find out's a
yeah.
good number. For example, Rhonda probably doesn't need $1,000 budget.
For supplies,
She
maybe
might,
do.
It just depends on,
yeah. So,
Whatever.
but
depends on like computers and printers and, we just bought a new plotter and stuff like that. But every day, general stuff, no, we don't go through a lot of
Right.
supplies and
Right.
a lot of
But
expense.
you would go through supplies, it's a
And
never
the supplies are outside of that, because like immunizations are in the thousands of dollars.
So,
And they've already said, I don't know if it says that in the policy, but like we just brought a new vacuum cleaner, it was $302. Do I have to come up here and ask you
well,
for a new vacuum cleaner, or
Well,
can
we
I
need-
just get one?
we just need a number from you that we could raise that
500
up.
was my number, I don't know what everybody else's number is, so.
We're,
I believe the EMS department had already suggested 500 as well, but that was before we just hired, so we could get numbers from each department head and input transplant them into a resolution and have that be the standing purchasing policy.
And again, like the sheriff's department has an elected official, so we don't deal with the sheriff's department stuff, do we, Alexis? Because sheriff's is an elected
No,
official and has their own.
the purchasing policy will only be applied to the departments that are run directly by the commission, which would be EMS, the health department, and the highway department, the recycling, the landfill, and the noxious weed.
Yeah,
Am I missing
Emergency
any?
management.
emergency management.
Huh? Appraisers.
She's elected.
Oh, yes, the
Yeah,
appraiser's
it's
office.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it would also be it would also affect human resources.
And that, okay.
Will you accept that as a chore?
Will I accept that as a chore to get that from all the department heads?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another question the department heads had is there a plan for hiring or human resources? What's the plan?
Well, we got an ad in paper for assistant for you, right, Don? And that would
That's-
probably help with that, right?
Is it gonna stay in Dawn's
No.
department? Is it gonna come out? What's the plan? Or is there not one yet? That's all we're asking.
From the transition of last year to right now, the reason that we waited to move forward with the hiring is because Dawn actually presented the idea that she got from other counties, which was that they were using benefits management companies. So currently, we have chosen a benefits management company. It is the PIC company, PIC, and it's already been voted on and approved. We were waiting to see what that was going to cost, which we have an estimate, but since it's going to be, I believe, Dawn, was hers fee and commission or just commission? I cannot remember.
Fee and commission.
Okay, so the commission would be part of the health benefits budget, and we could possibly also tie that fee in there, but what I had suggested is putting the fee on the human resource budget, taking it out of that budget, because we will not be paying the human resource person to manage the benefits. So then that leaves us with a dollar amount that we need to look at for the budget in order to make that decision on hiring. The dollar amount, the hourly rate, and the status as far as part-time or full-time. So we can move forward with that now that we have a benefits management company, and we should be getting a number as far as a fee in the very near future.
I think their fee was $1,500 a month. And then the commission, we didn't know yet what that is.
So if it's $1,500 a month, we need to talk about taking that out of the human resource budget, and that will tie into approving our budget. So I can say that we should be making a decision at the end of August and re-advertising for that position, because I believe we still need to determine if Dawn would like to continue to do payroll in her office.
Okay, thank you.
Bottom line is
I just
that's where we're at.
know where we were at, that's all.
Okay.
Is it mandatory for the non-elected employees to use the time clock?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I think there's just to the policy in the handbook and the time clock policy, there probably needs to be that statement somewhere. Okay,
I believe we do have a time clock policy that says all employees. So technically, elected officials are not employees. They may be on the
Will be
payroll, but they're
required,
not an
okay.
employee. If it's an employee, the time clock policy applies to all
Okay.
employees. I believe it says that.
okay. Does there need to be, I guess, are all non-elected employees using the time clock, Dawn?
Yes.
Okay. When the monthly department heads come to the commission to give a report, what do you want to see in the report? Because sometimes you listen to it all, sometimes you don't want that. What do you want? How much detail and what are you looking for?
What I would like to see is you to provide us with information about things going on in the various departments that we don't necessarily know. And I would also like to be able to send you some requests once in a while to go out to the departments and see what they think about this or that or something else. I think it's kind of an interface that we need between the commission and the guy on the ground, and you guys are in the best position to do that. So rather than give you a form to fill out every month, I think we'd be better served if you had a free-flowing form to tell us your problems and suggestions and to receive information from us and our problems and suggestions.
For me, I think it's kind of a financial status report. I mean, the clerk's office prepares that, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything to the commission unless the department head is explaining where the expenditures are going and why. And I'm not talking about your mundane repeat purchases. You know, you don't need to come in and say, this is why I bought vaccines at this dollar amount. But I'm just talking about, you know, you could come in and say, hey, we did exercise our right under the purchasing policy to spend $300 on a vacuum. It's just a courteous update so that we know where the money's going, because at the end of the year when we say, wow, they overspent their commodities line item, wouldn't it be interesting to know why? Then it doesn't have to be one long discussion before, you know, the end of the year budget is over.
I think like a status report type of thing. And like you say, not every mundane issue, but when you got something that is of a consequences that you think we should know, then we just know it. It's not that we're trying to micromanage it. We just want to know what's going on. So when people ask us on the street, what the hell are they doing in the Lincoln Health Department, I'd say, well, they did this, 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 and this. So then that's, you know, it's just communication. That's what I think we want here.
I think another thing is for a service such as the health department provides or the transportation bus provides, it's excellent to give us numbers as far as, you know, this quarter we did X amount or saw Y amount of people or provided services to the, and you have done that. So that's not a criticism, just a reason as to why the monthly updates and how, why they're necessary and how they can be facilitated.
Remember, I'm representing all the department heads, not just myself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what I'm saying is, so for the highway department, for example, we put in 16 culverts last month. You know, that would be helpful to know. We never know where things are being done and what is coming next. Everything has always been reported in hindsight for a long length of time. You know, there's no real updating going on except for things that need our signature, which is fine, but then we don't really follow the flow of the expenditures very well, which makes us uninformed.
And also, I think if we had future plans, if you plan next month, like highway department, say, well, we plan to work on that bridge, this bridge, and that bridge. Yeah, and I know, Liz, you're doing good. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, but if we do know that, then we say, okay, we spent so much gravel because of all the flooding, and that's just a good status report. So we gotta know where it's coming and going, and we plan to do this next month. And you guys, I don't know, in like the health department, you probably get a lot of vaccines coming in the winter, right, because of flus and this and that. So you get more busier then probably than the summer, right?
Well, I think I may have misunderstood what's going on here, but it seems to me like each head will come and present their monthly or annual report to the commission. What we want the department heads as a group to do is be an advisory board and to give us the feeling of what the hell's going on out there.
That's separate. We're just saying you're requesting the department heads come in once a month to give you a little report.
But I don't want you to
We
tell
want
me
to make
about
sure that the
colors.
time putting reports down, working on a report, is going to be valued. If I'm going to come here and you're going to blow me off, then that doesn't make me want to come very often. So we're just asking, what do you want to hear? Short, succinct, what happened this month and what we're planning next month.
That's what I don't.
And some financial
But
stuff.
we're looking at across all the departments.
Right, right.
Each individual department comes in.
But you could come in 5 minutes, just
Exactly.
tell us what happened this month
Right,
and what we're planning
right,
next
right.
month. That's all we
I
want.
just want to be appreciated when I come.
Oh,
That's
well-
what I'm saying.
Well, or you feel unappreciated?
Some department heads do. I am reporting for all the department heads.
Okay.
Don't kill
She's
the
a
messenger. Okay?
Spokeswoman.
Don't kill the messenger here. Okay, well, I know we're running time-wise, but we do have some important things we'd like to ask about. And in this, to that conversation, and I know in Mitchell County they do this, that the commissioners are assigned to departments, like somebody would be assigned to the health department. And if something happened in the commission meeting that the health department was affected by, just a short visit down to the health department. Hey, Ladonna, we voted on this when you weren't there, and this is what's going to happen. Or just pop in and say, how's it going? Or something like that. That's what Mitchell County does with their commissioners. They're all assigned the departments. They kind of break them out. And then that way, the department have someone as a go-to to talk to also about things.
No, that's a good idea. I think we could do that.
It's something we would like you to think about and talk about amongst yourselves. I know you don't have time right now to do that, but that way we have someone to connect with personally when it's not a commission meeting, and then that way I don't have to call Dawn on Tuesday morning and say, what did the commissioners do about my whatever?
Yeah.
If I wasn't here or I left before you made a decision. That would kind of open the communication up. The department heads would like to be notified and invited to the commissioner meeting when the health insurance plans are presented by the BMI company, the benefit management company. We would like to hear what the discussion is and what the plans are costing and that kind of thing. We'd like to know when that is. I know we can't.
May I make a suggestion that we create an email, a mass email just for department heads that maybe even the chair of the commission can access and just forward information, because I think as things are happening, sometimes I've been able to send emails right away, and that kind of keeps us rolling. Most days we know what's on the agenda, but if something is decided in the moment, it would be easy to do that. And then since you are acting as the representative for the department heads, then it doesn't have to go to just you, and then you relay the messages. And as you said, I think that's a good idea for us to break down by department. But when it's something that affects everyone, such as an employment change, a notification on whatever it may be, just like you said about the benefits situation, maybe we could just send that stuff out, and Dawn doesn't have to do that then after the meeting. It can be done even during the meeting.
That would be great, because we were just trying to think of ways that we can reduce Dawn's our always relying on Dawn for the answers.
Right, it's a double unnecessary communication. I think I would like to task the chair with sending out the email in the present. As we make the decision, I hit my contacts and I choose the department heads, and that there goes the correspondence.
That would be great.
Is that agreeable to the rest of the commission?
Yeah. And I'd like to be on that email list too, and I think that's a great idea, because you can update immediately, real time, and have every department head, so we can send out emails, and it may not even pertain to one department head, but another one, but it's good to have all that communication. Everybody seems to know more what would be going on, and I think that's a good idea.
I will remind the commissioners that when the chair sends out an informational email, that's fine. It doesn't violate any open meetings to send out an informational email. However, please do not reply to the email with an opinion, because that then would begin the process of violating the open record.
Right, yeah, just email me, and then I would never reply back. Yeah, just for info only stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point.
And this is just came up in conversation. We would like to know your philosophy on backing up department heads. And I'm just going to say that's kind of a micromanaged thing. We would like you to request the department head and discuss something with them before you go directly to an employee. And on the reverse side, say I have an employee who wants to take the week between Christmas and New Year's off, and I say no because it won't work for the scheduling. If they came to the commission and said, I really want that week off because I want to go to Cancun with my mom, I haven't bought my ticket yet, And would you override us? Just kind of that,
As far
just
as
your
I'm
philosophy.
As far as I'm aware, the job description for every department head puts that department head in charge of approving all of the employees' functions underneath them.
Okay,
As far as I'm concerned, Management 101 tells you that you can go one level down and one level up. That is, we can talk to the department heads, we're not supposed to talk to somebody that works for that department. If we find that there's a failure down there, then it's the department head that's gonna get hollered at. And it's, you know, you're in charge.
we just want
And
that
if you can't do it, then we'll find somebody that
reiterated
is, but
out
I
to
don't, and
everybody.
if somebody comes up here and they were bypassing you, they're in serious trouble. I'd say their job is probably in jeopardy.
I don't know if I agree with that totally, because I think we should have open communication with, that's restricting us talking to,
I'm not-
employees at the highway department. There's 20-some out there, and they
None
may
of us
have
are saying
issues.
that.
And if because,
They gotta go to the department head first.
None
If
of
you
us are
don't,
saying
you're
that you
bypassing
can't
your
talk to
channel.
employees.
well,
That's not our intention. The decisions shouldn't be made with our employees. They should be made through the department head. That's what you hire us for.
especially something like vacation going to Cancun. But
Well, I'm just, that was just.
but if you're talking about,
Okay, let's specify the issues here, because if
Yeah.
it is related to the tasks that they are to perform as an employee, or getting approval for their time card or their leave or anything like that, the logistics there, that is totally up to the department head. However, to tell the employees that they should never approach the commission, and I'm not even saying in a public meeting, but let's say one-on-one especially, that is asinine, and that was tried when I first got elected. There were a lot of employees who were told that they were not to approach the commission, the commissioners, a commissioner, any one of us, me especially. That
didn't come up.
completely undermining the system of democracy and election. I mean, it's unbelievable how much that was attempted the first year I was in office, and I will never stand for that, because not only are the employees employed, but they're also constituents and taxpayers, and there are a lot of concerns that do need to be brought individually to the commissioners and or sometimes in a meeting. However, if an employee is going to take work time to attend a commission meeting, they better have the approval of their supervisor.
That did not come up in the conversation about talking to employees. Decisions was what we were talking about.
The decisions are on the department head for
A
approval
decision
of
of the
employee's
department head
actions.
shouldn't be overruled by the commission if it's a valid thing, and we would just appreciate that. We're not saying you can't talk to the employees, but again, if you would request 2 of my employees to come up here, I would say, no, you need to talk to me, and then that would happen. I think that's respect.
I think I know what situation you're talking about, because I personally requested that the department send the 2 particular employees who were going to be working on a specific project to the commission to explain the project. I didn't want an explanation from the department head because I had already asked for one and it was unsatisfactory. So when I did request through the department that the employees working on a specific task, that they come and report what their suggestions were for that particular project. It was not followed through, and it still isn't to this day. It's unresolved, ironically.
I'm just telling you how the department heads feel. We would like that to go through the department head.
Of course, because if you were unorganized and you had a specific project going on that wasn't being taken care of, and the commission wanted a report from the people who were actually doing the project instead of you who was overseeing the project, of course you would be unhappy.
Anybody want to go with that? Okay, we're going to go on. We are requesting, and this is a handbook change, but we were requesting that would happen now, or within the next week or so, is we're requesting that the year end December 25th, and that leave time must be under 80 hours by the end of the pay period, and then December 26th forward, we would be counted as 2020. At the end of the year, we have this leave week mess, because it's 80 hours by the end of the year instead of the end of the pay period. We would request that that would be the end of the pay period. And if you haven't used it down to 80 hours by December 25th, you would lose them. Instead of having this carryover week that ends up being a nightmare to track.
I think that makes sense.
And so, I don't know if you want to discuss that more, but
I think that just needs to go into the handbook as part of the leave time policy.
it does, but we need to change it soon because we need the employees to know with enough notice that if that's the week they always trash their leave, they're not going to get paid for and take off, then they need to know that that's not going to happen this year.
Well, I highly doubt that the commission is going to finish the handbook by the end of the
No,
year.
but
That's the
can
way
you make
things have
that,
been going.
can you change that?
Change that one particular thing so we can get it out to the employees so they have ample notice. We're not expecting the whole handbook change, just this one thing so we can get it out to people.
I move to approve the request of the department heads to end the leave time accessibility rollover on December 26th.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to, I don't know what the heck we're doing.
Well, right here, just
To
read
end,
their
to
paragraph.
end leave time rollover on December 26th.
To end leave rollover on December 26th.
This, it would need to be December 25th.
What?
The end of the pay period.
Just read her
December
sentence,
25th.
read that sentence that she wants, then you got it exactly right.
We're requesting the year end, December 25th, and that leave time must be under 80 hours by the end of the pay period, December 26th. Forward would be counted as 2020. Okay, and to approve that motion, do we have any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm confused again on that. Can you explain that again? to me?
Well,
What the problem is?
You
there?
have to be under 80 hours of leave time left, or you lose it by the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
But the pay period ends on the 25th.
Oh, okay.
So it leaves this hanging week that we have to keep track of leave of our employees, and Dawn has to keep track of it, and
Between
because-
Christmas and New Year's.
Yes.
because it
Oh.
goes back.
Oh,
It would
okay.
be easier if it was just at the pay period, because
Okay.
then that's the end of the year and you go forward.
That's what we just approved.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank
Yes.
you. I understand it better
What
now.
you're doing is making,
I prove stuff and don't even
Yes.
understand it. That's real good.
it's
isn't it?
retroactive leave is what you're having to do to stay away from.
That's real good politician. I don't
But yeah, we want it to be your 80 hours
know. Okay.
you have to be under 80 hours by the end of the pay period,
Okay.
or you lose it.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Anything else?
We had one more thing, and you don't have to decide now, but we wanted to ask if you do it in the handbook or now or whenever, increase reimbursement for meals when we're out of county, breakfast to 8, lunch to 10, and supper to 15. Right now it's 6, 8, and 10, and that's kind of hard to do when you're out of town. And we know that meals as part of our registration are free, or that are free to the employee, they're not reimbursed. Like generally in my conferences, we get breakfast and lunch, but we don't get supper. So supper's the only meal that we're reporting for. But most of us probably network at those conferences, so when we go out to eat, they want to go to a sit-down meal and sit around and talk, and $10 doesn't get you very far. But, I mean, that's in the handbook, so maybe you want to just wait and change that. I did give you a copy of the pages 4 through 15 that we went through the handbook and made some suggestions, and there's a few things we still want to look up. But I don't want to go over all that now. I just wanted to give it to you so you could see. A lot of it is the time clock, the wording for time cards, time clock, that kind of thing. So the time clock policy matches the handbook. But there are a few other things in there, but we don't have time to go over all that today.
We'll review it and
Yeah.
maybe come back later and we can talk about it.
And does anybody else have anything? No?
What were the page numbers?
Pages 4 through 15. And I left a copy of that with my chicken scratches on it that we talked about.
You got a copy, Alexis, there for you.
So I would like to suggest that the commission set aside a time 2 weeks from now on the agenda. We already have something on there to discuss, so if we could just set aside a time to go through pages 4 through 16.
Sounds good. To me, anyway. Jim, you got any questions?
Look,
And I know part of the handbook has already been gone through, and did you find those notes, Dawn? From Deborah? Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
Paula's
fine.
more of a
That's fine.
priority right now.
Okay. So, yeah, we do know we do have some written notes, if we can find them from the pages. I'm not sure how far we got way back then, so. But this is kind of a bulk of the time cards, payroll, that kind of stuff that we got done. So I don't think we have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're a little behind here, about a half hour behind, but now Liz, you want to come up and, Michael's not here, Alexis, but Liz is here to speak on
Is he
behalf.
still on leave?
Yes.
Yeah, Liz said yes. So,
Okay.
okay, you go ahead if you got any, whatever you want to discuss, if you have anything for us.
Is this week stuff.
Okay. Liz has given us some handouts here of the scheduling for, it looks like this week. It shows the employees and the upcoming dates and their schedule of work detail schedule. Okay, very good.
And as far as the project that you keep referring to with the two guys, I mean, I hope that doesn't have to be brought up again in a negative way, but they have worked on it, and the one who is in charge, which is Bobby, in charge of that project, because I went ahead and put him in charge, and they went out this morning, checked the road. There wasn't enough rain to haul in anything to help mix that sand with the material that they're bringing in for it to stay on the road. They need some rain, but he did check it this morning. I checked with him first thing, and so anyway, the ditches are all pulled, tubes put in. Although the tube that doesn't have anything to do with that road, that part of the road for the Yule project is actually going to be changed. I think Stephen was going to change it and move it because they think the water flow would be better if it were moved. And so that is going to be done. As a matter of fact, I believe possibly today. And so all we're waiting on is rain to get material up there. And then that is done. That is according to Bobby.
Did they get some rain there last night?
They didn't.
Oh, because I got about
he was hoping that
Yeah.
it would be. He said it was dry as can be.
I got about a quarter of an inch.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was too dry. He
Okay.
said, but that is where that was the plan for today, and anyway, that changed. So, and then just like everything, we can get a week planned out, and then,
Weather.
shortly into it, then one of our guys had a little bit of a breakdown on his trailer. So then that changed our
Schedule.
flow a little bit, which is every day. I did also bring a list of what the guys are doing for the tubes. Stephen compiled this, and that'll be for that. And we added another one on the bottom this morning after I'd had it all printed. And I know that last week you said something about, as far as scheduling, overtime. Actually, we are now really looking pretty good as far as the FEMA work. I think there's just 2, maybe 3 other places that are going to require a little bit more time. But as far as all the washouts, the guys I think we're kind of wrapping that up and getting to the end of that part of it. But, so there'll be several other things that will take a little bit more time. And,
I got a question on this FEMA work. How did we determine, did you, after all this bad weather, you contacted FEMA? Or they contacted you, or how did we do that? We signed as commissioners, signed
Right. I think that
a
probably
request
got-
for that. But then how
got
do they
the ball
determine?
rolling.
Do they come in? You have a FEMA inspector here that looked at all
Well-
the stuff and determined what was FEMA responsibility and not. Did
What the
that- how they do that?
process was is that day, all the guys went out and took pictures of everything, any flood spot they could see, any washout, just anything.
Okay.
And I even think that there was probably a tree down somewhere. But they took all the pictures that was compiled through Michael, and then he sent those to Tanner, who put those on a map, a GPS mapping for us.
Yeah. Okay.
And then what's going to happen is on that map, the pictures. Now, what I had them go back out and do is take pictures of all the completed projects, because they also had to take pictures of like any of the gravel that was in the ditch, in the fields, wherever. And then the emergency management people will kind of calculate on how much was reclaimed and how much that it's going to take more to finish that work.
Okay.
And so then they got a completed project, picture of the completed stuff. And so now they will compare it, because how he explained it to us is because they have 70 plus counties involved, and they only have a handful of people doing all the site inspections. And so they will try to determine off the ending pictures that the job was complete, and maybe that would save them from having to do a site inspection, just so we can keep the ball rolling.
Okay.
We're only like in their tier of where we're at in the process. I want to say it was like tier 2 in the second block over. So I mean, there's a lot of steps left to be
Okay.
gone
I
through.
have two questions on the FEMA. One is, were you able to coordinate with Mr. Doe to get some of that paperwork, to get help, is what you had requested in your office for that paperwork?
Going. Yes, he's coming over today. He's been over on another day, and we kind of got a game plan. He was leaving for a meeting, I believe, but we touched base, and he is coming over today, and we're going to go through kind of what I have process-wise, what I thought, and I want to run it by him to see if, I think it'll work, because that's what I showed to the FEMA people, so,
Okay.
on how we were trying
And
to,
then my second question is, were the pictures also uploaded to the program that we pay for the highway department, which is Mobile 311?
the pictures were all taken through Mobile 311.
Great, that's great news. Thank
So we
you.
are using it more. And,
Yeah.
Well, good. That's great.
They were all taken through
Thank you.
Mobile
Okay.
311.
Yeah, and
and
then-
Michael got all that going.
Okay.
I mean, that's
good.
all he is.
Well, because I'd heard he hasn't been using it much, but now it sounds like you have been, so that's good.
Yeah,
That's
he-
all we want to use it,
was
because
used.
what's a helpful tool for doing this stuff, right? Might as well use it. We pay for it, and use what we have as a tool. So that's
Yeah.
great. Good news.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was used.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I want you to know that, I'm just not pulling all this work from places. I mean, we're all kind of coming together in the mornings or whatever, and I kind of started on it last week for this week, but, I have been in touch with Michael, and I've been texting him on different things, so, I mean,
You're doing a great job.
well, thank you.
You are.
Okay, I'm just doing what they did, but without only putting it on paper. That's the only difference. What I'm doing, but it's
Well,
the only
that's
way.
what- but
It's the
that-
only way I can remember what's going
Well,
on.
but that's what we want, because see, we can see
Yeah,
now what's going on, and maybe Michael's doing fine, but we just
He does.
we never had this paperwork before.
He does a good job. I admire people who can keep it all straight in their head, kind of like I do my catering. That's how we roll. But
Anyway, well,
anyway, this is really more honestly for my benefit. But the other thing I wanted to I went back and kind of reviewed that because I couldn't remember on all that overtime stuff, and you said to kind of organize the overtime. But with that being said, I think on some of those other projects that'll require a little more time, there will be more overtime given. I think the guys, like I said, are kind of wrapping up a little bit on the roads. But the bridge crew, I know when Greg was here and they were talking about, some things that need to be done and kind of for his scheduling. The bridge crew, they are planning on working on Friday this week because due to his daycare situation, he was able to work this week. So they're going to be working so they can get some of the projects done. If they don't get this list done this week, that's what they were moving forward on. Plus they had some other things that they were doing. So I wanted to mention that because you had said on that, but
Yeah, that's all we want. Overtime's if you need it to use it.
Yeah.
But
and they'll use it. And the guys, they've been when it's needed to be used.
Okay.
And then the other thing I want to talk about, but I think it has to be an executive session for just a few moments, not to,
Was it a personnel issue or?
Yeah, it would actually be on kind of some payroll stuff. I just have some questions.
If it has to do with pay, it's not executive session. If it has to do with work or employee performance, then that would be executive session.
Okay, just a second here. Let me line it down. I'm just going to try to think of the best way, and I won't say any names on any of it. I'm going to give one to Dawn. I kind of ran a report, and it has, I just handwritten the years of service by everyone. And back for when, back 20 years ago or whatever, obviously the pay start was a lot less. But on one particular person on here, he was considering maybe going to the bridge, and then I think he kind of thought twice about it, but we wanted to use that for an example. So for an example, he came upon his year. So his starting wage is shown at $13.05. He would have gotten 50 cents more, which would be $13.55. And then if the merit raise, and I think I put ME, it means merit. I didn't finish my word. If that comes to be, that would be basically another quarter. And then if he goes to bridge, that's a dollar. Because they get, due to the elements, they get $1 on their wage. So if you go down, say, to number 510 on here, and compare those wages, it's the person who is number 510, I think he's brought it up several different times, and what they're getting at is, for those who have been here longer, their pay, the new people coming in are hiring at such a higher money value that the people who have been here and work hard just feel, almost like it's a little...
Like they're not getting...
Kind of like a slap in the face, in a way. But, that's due to the circumstance of wages being raised in the interim. Anyway... I just wanted to bring that up. If that is something that,
So were you recommending, for some of these guys that have been here a lot of years?
I would recommend an increase.
Raises?
Yes.
But how many of them on this list are there that are eligible that you would think here?
Well, let me look.
In other words, by longevity, you're saying maybe we should give more of a
Yes,
raise.
I do.
Based on 5 years, give them a bonus raise, 10 years a bonus raise, something like that. Maybe?
And I know they get longevity, but if you figure that out into whatever, I think it's 5 years, you get a longevity, you get 1 day paid.
Mm-hmm.
But when
No, I can understand what
I
you're
didn't
saying.
calculate anything out exactly, but if you do look at it,
Okay, can I clarify something?
Yes.
Because Alexis can't see what you're looking at.
yeah.
So Alexis, what she's basically saying is she has an employee that has moved to the bridge crew or is doing bridge crew work. And if by the time he gets his 6-month raise and his year raise and the $1 an hour raise, he will be making at year 1 the same amount of money as somebody that's worked here for 9 years.
Thank you, Dawn.
Because we've increased the starting wage at the same time we were giving that cost of living increase at the beginning of the year each year.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
That clarifies it, yes.
I would text it to you so you can see it, but I left my phone in the car. But yes, that's where I was getting at. And I think they've asked, several times, but I think I think it's been discussed, but I don't think anything is truly whatever.
That's where they talked about with this merit-based increase. Those employees that are long-term will be getting a merit-based increase for the starting wage. So say if you have 50 cents in a year and you give a 25-cent cost of living and a 25-cent merit, then there's at least going to be a 25-cent difference between the cost of living wage and the first-year employee. But for many years, the starting pay was under $10 an hour. So they decided to try to boost the starting wage up to get people to come here. And so that's what they chose to do. So that's kind of the end result, is employees that are long-term employees.
Feel like they're not getting compensated
Correct.
for their longevity, and that's probably
Yes.
true. And we're lucky to have those guys who've been here 5, 10, 15 years, because they know what they're doing and they've been here and they've got all the experience.
Yep.
Maybe we should consider another raise at 5 years and another one at 10 or something like that. Or maybe it doesn't have to be those years, but some longevity.
I mean,
reward for
Yeah.
staying here, because a lot of these younger guys, and if they've only been here a year or two, they may up and leave real easily because they don't have no ties here that much. Maybe. In other words, they're not locked into our system.
But I think we want to keep two things in mind. The first is, we're moving toward a reward-based system, reward for the work, not reward for just attending.
Yeah.
But also, outside of that, we need to talk to some other counties because they do have some caps. So let's say your bridge crew is supposed to make X amount, and then the cap exists. So once you've basically climbed that ladder in that particular position, then if you wanted more money, you would start applying for the management, which is why the restructure is going to be so important. And that leads me to a question. I know Jesse Zacco was hired to be the head of the bridge crew, so who is the head of the bridge crew?
Well, Stephen Weber, it's not that anybody is totally the head. He's been putting in some one calls between he and Emmett, who is Blade guy. But Stephen actually, has been here a long time. And so he's just kind of also keeping the projects kind of rolling as well. Like doing the one calls, he'll come in. I just didn't have time to do the one calls, so I asked him if he would go ahead and do them.
Okay, so the proper management concept would be this particular person, if they are on bridge crew, that once they max out on their dollar amount for that position, then they would be eligible to apply, just as we have an opening right now, to become the head of that crew, and that would increase their wages, because the wages need to be increased with the responsibility. And I understand what you're saying. They're making what an entry-level person makes, but we need to maybe reestablish what entry-level at bridge crew is, what entry-level at equipment operator is, what entry-level at truck driver is, etc. Because if we have an entry-level and a cap, then they know the range in which they're to be making money when they get hired.
Well, okay, yes, I understand that. But I'm going to use him for an example since, we determined that he is the one that is basically kind of doing the work. He's not doing all the work Jesse was doing, but he is, he is doing the one calls. And anyway, but what I was going to say to that is, for instance, with Steven, he started out a mechanic, then he went to truck driver. So he was making 50 cents more as a mechanic. He moved to truck driver. We took away the 50 cents. Then he went to the bridge crew, and we gave him back $1. Just kind of seemed, I don't know. I also think maybe that stuff being considered here as well is that, what about cross-training? If these guys can run every dang piece of equipment and know what particularly each department kind of does that not account?
That, again, that's where training comes in. If
Right.
you have completed a certain level of training, most companies and a few counties that I've talked to, you have tiers. So you enter in as a tier
Right.
1 equipment
It
operator,
is,
and if
yeah.
you've proven yourself
Yeah.
and perform the required levels of training, which I have yet to see as a requirement, then you move to tier 2, and that is a specific pay scale.
Well-
and then once you've mastered that and you want to take on more responsibility for coordinating jobs, etc., you move to tier 3. After you're at tier 3, if you don't apply for a management position when it comes open, then you know you've topped out and you're at a certain pay scale until that yearly raise comes around, either based on merit or cost of living.
Yeah, and see, that could be established more so, say, possibly that way in the highway department, because there are so many elements. But if you compare that to another department, they might be doing, although we would be doing the same thing, the same stuff every day for the most part. But the guys are
I'm not talking
learning.
about other departments. I'm just talking
No,
about,
I know.
You know, okay. So
No.
you have a truck driver, you have a junior level truck driver, and you have a senior level truck driver. You have equipment operators. Tier 1 is motor grader only. Tier 2 is motor grader and backhoe. And tier 3 is excavator and bulldozer and everything below. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to actually complete the required training and be able to, if you're talking about cross training, you have to complete the training, and there has to be a training schedule. And if someone does not ever wish to operate the excavator and the bulldozer, then they know they're going to maintain tier 2 or tier 1. If someone only wants to be on a blade route and never get in another piece of machinery or be trained on it, then they will stay at tier 1, and they know their limitations that come with the finances there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're saying, but what I was going to say was, when I worked for the judicial branch in Salina, the way ours was a step program. So you went in as, say clerk 1, clerk 2, secretary 1, secretary 2, 3, 4, whatever. But it was not done off of, what it was done off of years of service. So after, your first year you move up to step 2 or whatever, and then at your 5th year you move up to step 3. That it wasn't done on exactly what you're doing.
It was done on
Well,
years of
It was
service.
done on years of
Very
service.
Not merit, necessarily.
Right, right. So years, your longevity, that's basically was what it was on. And then at the 5th year, you started drawing longevity pay.
Well,
But
the historian in me needs to feel like I need to tell you guys, because I can't remember when we started doing the $1 an hour raise. But the $1 an hour more was to entice people to stay on the bridge crew, because originally everybody would get hired on the bridge crew, but that's the first job you want to get off of. And so as soon as a position was open, they were always transferring out. So they offered $1 more an hour for anybody that works on the bridge crew to keep them there, is what the goal was of that.
Okay.
And the solution to that is that potentially a tier 1 bridge crew member makes $1 an hour more than a tier 1 equipment operator. I mean, that has to be established then through the pay scale for that particular department, which I think we can work on, and that is how a lot of other places do it. I mean, you have to qualify for that next level. You don't qualify automatically by it being December 31st.
In other words, by years of service.
so technically, we have a guy that he actually would do bridge crew, but he's not the best at completely running all the equipment yet. But he would get there eventually, and for him, money-wise, it would be beneficial for he and his family. But he happens to also be the one that if you bring him in, compared to the other guy, he's going to be making just as much. And that is where the problem comes in, because now you've got the guy who's kind of halfway running stuff, and he's not
He's not making any more than a new guy.
exactly, but doing more of the work.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
But
yeah.
that's why what I explained solves that problem. If tier
Right.
1
But can
equipment operator makes $10 an hour and tier 2 equipment operator makes $12 an hour, then you know what you make regardless of whether you're entry level or not, because you're entering with a certain amount of knowledge and skill.
But
Because
yes,
if we're hiring someone who needs trained, then in essence the county is paying for their training either as they go or taking classes. So that's how you solve that problem.
Yes, I
it's
understand.
solvable.
All I'm saying is, I mean, I don't know where you guys are in the process of figuring out all that. All I know is that if the one employee decides to stay on bridge at basically the entry-level position and you've got the other, now we're going to have a conflict for a while until you get things figured out. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you have
You know.
two types of employees.
Yeah.
There are always two types of employees, and that's Management 101. Someone who just wants the job and they like the hours and they're comfortable in a position, or someone that's actually trying to climb a ladder and work their way through or even out.
But
And
I
you
think
have to
that's
be
both.
Accommodating both. So that means that the people who are choosing not to advance their skill level or their knowledge are comfortable at their pay. That's on them. The people who want to advance their skill level and their knowledge, that's where we need to be active in rewarding them, which the first step of that was the merit-based raises. With the restructuring of the highway department, I believe we can address exactly what you're talking about and create tiers within each position that they will know ahead of time what they're capable of making if they do X, Y, and Z. But it would be up to the department head to create that structure and make the demands on the employee.
Right. All I'm saying is temporarily, if you can, if you guys can just look at that, and because as far as both of those employees, I would say all three of them that are doing it, all of them want to advance, and all of them are running the equipment except the one, the newest one, he's not running all of it because he's not quite the best at it yet. He is still learning. But that's all I'm saying. If it can just be looked at
We'll look
for the
at it.
person who is
Yeah.
doing the more, yeah.
I understand your point.
Yeah.
And we'll look into it. I almost think that you could give a little bit of reward for years of service also, because
I was under the impression that is what the longevity pay is.
well, oh, okay,
Because
we already got a
longevity
longevity
pay is not
pay
going to be
thing.
equal to your longevity pay if you put in twice as much time.
Right. Now, now, from what I've talked to the guys, like when we have met or whatever, some of those guys, well, I mean, the ones who get longevity, you know, I suppose what they're getting, I don't know because I've not met that fifth year yet, but, you know, for their 1 day of pay, and from what I heard from I would say all of them that were talking about it, that they would rather see the pay increase and not have the dang longevity. Like they, you know, if they got more for their hourly wage. But that's, you know,
We'll discuss
that's,
that more.
yeah, that's something that, I'm just bringing that
Yeah.
up, is that is what,
And we'll
what
look
was
into
said.
it here.
yeah.
Do you have other stuff here?
No.
We're a little behind schedule.
I'm
so-
done.
Oh,
So-
okay.
That's,
Are you gonna do Sheldon Frederick King's 50 cents?
oh, thank you, yes, yes. Sheldon Frederick King has been here a year, and his 50 cents, he should,
6
or 6 months, I'm sorry, thanks, Dawn. He should get his 6 month raise, which would be 50 cents, and that would be reflective to this month.
Okay.
Or is that next
No,
month?
it
That would
was
be next
June.
month. June. Yes.
December, January,
Yes.
February, March, April, May, June,
Yeah.
26.
So we need
Yeah.
a motion there, Don, for
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
need a motion, don't we?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to give Sheldon Frederick King his 6-month pay increase of 50 cents per hour.
I'll second.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to give, for this motion. Are there any other discussion?
That,
I was wondering, is that who is still operating the dozer?
yes, he's out there pushing stuff. He was doing bridge crew. Like he'd been doing it for probably about I'm going to say close to a month. So he didn't even get that differential. And what I told him was, you probably won't. I mean, because he's not staying.
So-
I don't think
so
he's.
what is the bridge crew pay he was at, and did that maintain the same dollar amount when he moved to the bulldozer?
Well, Dozer. Okay,
He
so
was
his
not on the bridge crew. He was
right.
something else, a truck driver, I think.
He is a truck driver. So his pay has been the same. Just only he went over to the bridge because they needed the help, and at the time we were not pushing any material because you couldn't get in the pit.
So
So
then with the commission needs to establish what the pay should be for a bulldozer driver. Now, has he taken any classes or has he done any training for that change in his position?
he is doing just on-site training. But
And
And-
Who is training him? on site?
Craig Cressley is, I know that Jesse had gone out there, I think, once. And I know that Sheldon is keeping in contact with Craig. And I know that Sheldon took some pictures one day of what he did and texted him to Craig so he could see it because Craig was dozing somewhere else.
Okay, so Craig Cresley's teaching him kind of.
Well, kind of, yes. I mean, Craig is kind of watching out for him.
Well, that's one thing maybe we need to address in the future too, is like when we do a transition, say from truck driver to dozer, we gotta make sure these people are qualified to run a dozer.
Yeah.
You just don't send them off and say, see
Right.
you later, because that's a big, huge
It
piece
is.
of equipment. And we had an incident where we ran one into a pond.
Yeah.
And we don't wanna pay $50,000.
Yeah,
again
and
for
he's,
that, you know.
and again, I know that, I'm pretty sure Jesse was out there a day, with him, I'm just,
Well, that's fine, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, we just wanna make sure people get training they need.
yeah. And I think
you
it was Jesse's.
Okay.
That's been a little while
Well, that's
back.
fine. Yeah, it doesn't matter that much. But
Yeah.
hey, we're in the middle of a motion here. So it's been moved and seconded to give Sheldon Frederick King 50 cents an hour. And then any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Liz, for doing a good job. And this is really, I don't mean to get down on Michael here, but this is really all we want from him is information like you've given us on spreadsheets and data, what people are doing and what they're doing. That's what I want. That way we know what's going on out there. That's all. We don't want to micromanage it. I don't want to. But anyway, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Rahmeier, you ready? Come on in, Kent.
How are you guys?
How are you guys? How are you doing today?
Good. Where am I supposed to sit?
Anywhere up front here.
Oh, this issue, the main thing I'm worried about, I've been trying to get something done for the last 20 years since Alan Sereen's been in commission. Everybody's just never got anything done, but back in, when you guys, the Iron Road, always called Rock Island Road, years ago, they lowered all them hills and leveled that off and everything. And when they got to my place, I got two waterways coming into that road, draining off there and going across into where it was Reinert's ground before. And when they got to that point, instead of cleaning all the silt out behind on Reinert's side, they went in there and they raised that culvert up 4 foot. And it's only sticking down below the road about that much. I mean, it's big enough culvert to handle it and everything. And it already kind of done before I realized, I said, this ain't gonna work. Because, they built a berm on my waterway to handle that, and it worked really good. And as the years go on, years gone on, that silt is filled in. Now it's all up 4 foot. And there's not one drop of water that goes through the culvert. It takes off across my field down to the next waterway and drains out there. And then when there's enough rain, it goes over the road in between. I feel like it's not my responsibility to fix it, because it's been
The culvert plug, but
Yeah.
out of mine. And so, what would what's your request here to fix that culvert?
Yeah, and put it back down in there where it originally was, clean it out behind.
And that's at the iron.
Otherwise, if you guys are gonna have a big problem in a couple, 3 years, the road's gonna be washed out, where it's where it's going over top of
And that's
it.
at Iron and what street out there?
Well, it's
200 and
on 90th and
Oh, 100. 90th,
East.
90th and Iron.
Yeah.
90th and Iron. That's over by just north of your place there on
Yeah,
Iron. I know where
yeah,
that is. Yeah.
yeah.
I know where you live.
I mean, you guys need to come out
And look at it.
someday.
Yeah.
I don't know, do we have any road supervisors or anything, or?
Well, right now we have.
You?
Well, right now.
I mean, you'll understand when you see the situation.
Yeah, I'll come over and look at it. And we have right now. Michael's out on leave, and Liz has kind of been operating the highway department. But we'll come look at it and try to get that scheduled to get it worked on. Okay.
But I mean,
But, so you think it could just be,
talk like there wasn't a budget to do it or nothing.
so you think there'd be, just, the culvert be cleaned out, would that fix it, or it needs to be
No,
lower?
it needs to be
dug
back
deep-
where it originally was.
Dug deeper and put
You
down
go
lower.
back there and clean out the original silt.
Okay.
And I mean, then I'll have to dig out 4 foot and bottom that water.
Do we have to get on private property to do that, or is that all on the
Well, it'd be,
right away of the ditches?
well, it'd be Barksdale's and mine,
Well, we have to get permission to do that, we just can't go drive it on your field and, or Barksdale's, and then,
right?
without you guys telling us it's okay, you know?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, it's something gonna have to work on.
Well, we need to do that because, for liability reasons and for just,
But I
private
mean, it's
property-
cut,
private
it's, I
property.
mean, it's made a mess out of my field now. I mean, the first drop of water just goes across and.
I'll come look at that, 90th, it's on Iron there, 90, right by your right driveway,
It's a,
90th.
it's like I say, it's a half mile east of that. over
East of-
the
east of
school
you.
Corner there, yeah.
Okay,
Give me a call and I'll meet you there.
what's your number? Can I get it?
658, 5129,
5129?
yeah.
Alexis, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, Kent Rahmeier's here. Obviously you probably heard the discussion, about,
I can hear.
yeah, about this culvert on, 90th and Iron. So, I plan to look at it, and I'll tell Liz too that there's a project maybe we can look into fixing for you.
Yeah, and then,
Thank you.
there's a couple other deals too that, in the same section where my farmhouse is there. You know, that Oak Creek goes down there and I like to get to there to winter cattle there. And now it's to the point with all the rains and everything, you gotta drive up over top the culvert to get on into the pasture gate. And it's been needing some gravel for years.
That's on 90th?
No, that's back, yeah, it's kinda on 90th, be right west of 90th. And there's,
Is that a county road or?
yeah, it's a
Okay.
county road,
Okay.
you know, they're on top of that hill.
I know where you're at. I'll
And-
come look at it.
And between that hill and the farmhouse there, county staked it for the last 5 years. There's a hunk of culvert missing out of there and they just keep pushing gravel over it, so you don't have a wreck there. I mean, they know it. I mean, why don't somebody do something about that?
Did you do culvert, you think?
Well, it just needs one added on, a little dirt work.
Yeah.
I'd like to build some fence along there one of these years and, well, maybe be fixed up before you do it.
Well, I'll check
Somebody's
it.
gonna drop off into it sometime. But I'll show you if you
Yeah,
come out.
I'll call it 658-5129. Yeah, I'll try to cut this week.
It's
You'll be
just
around
some-
this week? you
yeah,
think? I'll give you a call and we'll meet over there.
I'll just make time for
And
it.
then when we get a good idea what's going on,
Yeah.
I'll get with Liz.
You'll understand what
I'll
I'm
get with
talking
Liz
about.
and, see what they can work that
Yeah.
in. Or at least if it's a bigger issue, financially or
Yeah.
something, then I'll bring it with Jim and
Right,
Alexis here on
yeah.
what we can do.
Yeah, I mean.
Cause I don't
well,
wanna just
like
get
that
a,
deal, there's a lot of water comes down that deal, that Oak Creek, and, you know,
Okay.
there's one culvert this big around.
okay.
That's what the handle sitting at, just goes clear over the road each time, and then you got it, and it just made a mess too down in the
We've had some
waterways.
mean weather this winter and
Yeah,
spring,
I mean,
yeah.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but
But no,
it's
but,
been an issue all the time that way, it just never was a big enough deal to handle the water,
Okay.
there just needs something, but
Well,
I'll
come-
just show you.
yeah, I'll come look at it and then I'll get with, the highway department and review with them and they can look at it, and they can make their assessment on what needs to be
Right.
done.
Yeah,
But we're
like I
trying
say,
to
you
get-
need to get all
Reinert
that
said
bark
that
stuff.
he brought this to the attention of the highway department. When was that?
What was it, what Alexis, I'm sorry?
I was just wondering, he said he had already brought this to the attention of the highway department. When was that?
Last 20 years.
He said
The
when Alan
commissioners,
Serene
every
was
commissioner, we've had last 5 commissioners.
Since Alan Serene's, would be the last 20 years he's brought it to
What
the
did they tell
attention.
you over there?
Yeah, what they tell
Well,
you.
they was coming, brought it up at the commissioners, now see, your other 2 commissioners are gone, and I don't know if they ever got it brought up and decided to do anything or not.
What did the
I
highway
just-
department say?
Well, I didn't talk to Iowa, I talked to the commissioners, like Gerald and
Yeah.
Steve
Terry,
Airborough and,
Terry and Steve.
and
Aljo.
Steve acted like there was no funding for that. Well, you got equipment and labor you pay every week anyhow, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see where that's an issue, but
Well, we're
it never
fixing,
did get done.
I think this serves as the perfect example of why we need to be utilizing Mobile 311, because as soon as that issue gets flagged, it stays on the map as unresolved until it gets finished.
Yeah, ought to be in the note somewhere, but.
well, the 311
But I
is a-
did it personally I had the commissioner, they come like, Gerald looked at it, and
Right.
Steve Airborough looked at it, and just never got done.
Okay, well, maybe we can help you here. But the 311 is where they can take pictures
And every
of
time
all
I
this.
pay my
It goes on the
property
computer.
taxes, I get upset, and I'd like to get a little something back out of it.
Okay. Well, I'll come look at it this week. I'll call you and then,
All right.
well,
be
I'll
around
try to
for-
take pictures. I'll take
Right.
pictures and give them to the highway department and,
Yeah,
maybe we can,
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Do you have anything else?
There is, on that road, like east of Steve Cheney's, I don't know what.
Yeah, I know, yeah, right there, that little one, that little corner there,
Yeah,
right
we-
by 18 highway.
No, they go up north.
Oh, the one up north.
His new home.
Oh, yeah, west of his house.
Yeah.
That washed up bad, didn't it?
Yeah, like some of them, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are gonna fix that. But you go into the next mile, and about the first eighth of the mile needs some gravel. Into the next section.
Going west, you're talking about.
I got a
right,
pasture back in there, and what do you do when it rains some night? You go check cattle, and it is so terrible greasy,
what is
just
it?
needs some gravel spotted in there.
What is that
Yeah.
street? Do you know that number?
I can't tell.
Well, I know where Steve's got his new house.
Yeah.
And I've heard going west from there
It's in
that
Grand
water
Township.
the water comes down from the north, really washed
Yeah.
across that road and about washed the road out down in there.
Yeah, and then you get into, once you get past that mile, and then there's just about an eighth of a mile, just slicker and snot every time it rains.
That's
And it just needs a little.
that's
bit of
another
gravel.
mile west
Yeah.
of Steve's. Okay, I'll come check
Yeah.
that out too. Okay, and we can talk to the highway department about
Yeah.
that. Those were
It
just
don't look bad till it rains.
these were existing gravel roads, but now they're
Yeah.
washed away or
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
bad because of all this water.
Gravel's wore out on it, yeah, it's just
Okay.
never been.
Well, maybe.
Here a year or two ago, you guys put some gravel in that guy that moved in there.
Yeah.
From his old place.
Right.
Well, that intersection, it should've went about 300 more feet
West.
west, and
Okay.
problem would have been solved, so.
I'll check on that too. But
Okay.
Steve and Chris Genie were telling me that west of
Yeah,
their house
sure.
is really bad because that washed out
It's
there.
getting them low spots,
Yeah.
and it really does.
And
need
it's
something.
dangerous place
Needs
there
filled in.
because it's
yeah.
like a
Dangerous, yeah.
drop off
It's like
ditch.
45-degree angle
Yeah.
going down each one of them draws.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it does need some attention.
I'll try to
so.
get over there this week. on that,
Okay, I'll leave you alone.
too. Okay, well, thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah. And, anything else?
I
John?
have something.
Okay,
So I really only received one application and I had already offered the job before somebody else brought in their resume, but because it's a part-time person to begin with, I just need somebody to help me get caught up. I would like to hire Brittany Heel, and I do have her application with me. She's not somebody that's going to be a long-term employee, and I know that up front. She knows that up front, and I think that's why it's a good fit, because then that gives you guys some options for HR and gives me some time, but gets me some help. I have an election coming up in November I'm gonna need help for. And so with that being said, I would like her approved at $12.05 per hour. I've already made the offer, and I guess you guys really officially need to set the wage for her.
12:05.
Yes.
Did you hear all that, Alexis?
A little bit of it was faded. I didn't hear a name, and I heard 12:05.
Brittany Heald is her name. And
And how many hours? Do you have a designated amount of hours or a schedule?
she's gonna kind of have limited hours, but she's available on Mondays. So primarily, I'll have her work on Mondays, and then have her work with special
Okay.
projects for me as she can. But it's more so to get kind of caught up. I will have her, like, she's gonna come in tomorrow night and help me. We're gonna get the paycheck stubs stuffed and things like that. I just need help filing. I've got a ton of payroll things I haven't filed. So I'll have her help a little bit on the HR side, but more than nothing, it will be on the election side and the clerk side that she'll be doing
Okay.
the busy work. And the reason why I think it's a win-win situation is she doesn't want a full-time job. She's in school right now. And she's off every Monday, so that kind of helps us. But this is not what her career path is going to be. And with part-time per need, it doesn't really matter who you hire. They're going to want more hours. And this will give you guys the options of being able to figure out what you want to do for HR. And if HR is that it comes back into my office, then we'll open that full-time position up and do that, and then I won't need her anymore, and her feelings will not be hurt by any means. But she gives me the means to at least get some of those mundane things done that we just don't have time to do.
Okay.
So
Does she get benefits too then?
no. The only benefit that they would get is if they have to be on payroll 30 days, but they get 4 hours of holiday time if they work during the month that they get holidays. If they work
And how-
more than half of the hours available, they get leave time, but there's no way she's gonna have half the hours available. I'm looking like maybe 12 hours maximum per week, potentially just the 8 on Mondays.
Okay.
So yeah, no, absolutely no
Oh,
benefits.
that's fine. I just didn't know how that worked.
No.
Do you have any question about this, Alexis?
And this, how do you spell her last name?
Heald.
Okay.
She works part-time at Citizen State Bank right now. I don't know if any of you go
Yeah,
there.
I know her from school.
Yeah.
I substitute taught her. I'll make a motion to hire Brittany Heald part-time for the county clerk's office at the starting rate of $12.05 per hour.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to hire Brittany Heald as a part-time employee for the county clerk's office. Are there any other discussion?
I guess I just want clarification that this is not to fill the HR position that we have yet to reestablish.
No, this is just a part-time per need position for me. So I will
Just
only
for the
have her
clerk,
work when I
okay.
need her.
As the clerk sees fit in her own office, regardless if it deals with HR issues, it's not the actual HR position, as long as we're clear on that.
Correct.
That's what Don says, that's correct, and we understand that. It's just part-time to help her in her office for a short time. It won't be an HR type of position.
No.
Right.
Okay.
Probably more along the lines of what a payroll clerk would do, just the menial filing.
Payroll clerk type of a job.
Okay.
So, moved and seconded again, to hire Brittany Heald as a part-time employee for the county clerk's office. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved? Not opposed.
And Jeff, the auditor, called last week, but we played phone tag back and forth, so I'm assuming he's wanting to set a date to come. I kind of forgot to call him this morning before your guys' meeting, but I will email you guys if that's what it is.
This is the auditor for the budget?
Yeah, and then we've got to
Get going on the budgets, okay. Probably better schedule that for next week too, right? Put on a time slot for budget stuff,
Yes.
okay?
even if you guys go back to your department heads and say, if your budget increased more than I think it's 1.4%, I need to look that up again, because numbers right now just aren't sticking.
I will begin that mass email to the department heads, and I'll just give them that notification, hey, as a reminder, we're going to be looking at the budgets, and you will automatically be ineligible for anything over the increase.
Okay, I'll email you when I get back upstairs what that increase is. So that way you have
Okay.
the percentage. So then that way they can start reworking their budget.
Okay, anything else, Don, information? that we need to do.
I have a question. When are we closing the applications for the job that we're currently hiring in the highway department? Did we put an end date on that, Dawn? Do you happen to remember?
I did not. I think you guys said not to.
I think we just
And
left
how
it
many
open.
applications do we have now?
I don't know, but if you give me 3 minutes and I'll run up and count.
She's gonna go up to the
Okay.
office and, Don's gonna go to the office and try to get them and be back, take a couple minutes here. So,
Well, yeah, and I'm bringing that up because, well, number one, we want to make sure that we move on that, and number two, to continue with the restructuring, I think the commission needs to create their own flow chart and organize it, and I think we do need to discuss the different tiers and the pay scale that's associated at entry level and a specific amount of training and the next level and pay scale, associated with that. I think we need to differentiate and identify so that everyone knows where they are and where they're eligible to move to.
yeah, more of a career path type of a setup. I don't think that's very well organized now, the way it looks to me.
Well, what Liz brought up today is the perfect example. You could have started there 20 years ago and be doing a great job and not be making any more than a new entry-level person who has no training. So the
Right.
county's actually paying to train a new person at a more expensive rate than what we're paying out for a seasoned employee. And we currently have no system to prove that an employee has more skill set because we have no education requirements, we have no training objectives. So that needs to be put on paper, and we need to hire someone who's able to do some training.
Some training, and also, I think maybe like an in-house certification. Like if some guy learns how to run a dozer and he becomes proficient,
Yeah.
he'd be certified dozer operator, then maybe a certified grader operator,
Yes.
and so forth. That way then they have a
When the
certificate.
dozer operator goes on
Right.
vacation, you work your way down the list to the next person on the list who has been certified to do that job.
Well, that would be just, an in-house certification thing, and that way then,
I agree.
because if somebody's got 4 certifications, truck driver, bulldozer, grader, then they could make another quarter an hour more, maybe because we're gonna reward them for their, knowledge and ability.
Right.
But,
Right, and that would all fall under equipment operator tiers and
Yeah.
what their pay scale is.
well, we could look into that. Hey, Don's back, with this, information, so.
So we have 5, 3 actual applications, and then 1 applied through Wichita Eagle, which basically gives you their resume, and the other one through that Indeed.com, and it gives you their resume.
Did
So
you hear
we'll
that?
send-
Yes, and I would like to suggest, well, first let me ask, Dawn, do we have anything on the schedule for next week besides what we did today, which was review, well, there were 2 things we asked for on the schedule next week, and now
Well, the pick, we gotta sign the pick thing, right?
I think there is somebody already on the agenda, but then you also have nursing home the entire afternoon.
Yeah, nursing
On the
home we're gonna deal with, and also the budget, probably.
So would you like to schedule a special meeting then to go over the applications? Because I think if we have 5 now, we need to start, because if we get many more than that, that's gonna be an entire day.
Yeah, I think we should probably have a special meeting.
Are those executive sessions all the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we should have a, special meeting, cause we do have a lot of issues coming up, budget we gotta address, and the pick stuff, well, I guess all we gotta do is get a contract for pick, right, Don, or?
Yes.
So we've really no more issue there, really, for
No,
now.
and I
But
guess if you guys wanted to
I would
move-
like to,
nursing
I would
home,
like
I
to
agree with
request-
Jim, what was that now?
I was just going to request that we schedule a special meeting for next week. That allows 1 more week to collect applications. Well, 2 actually. It would give us 2 more weeks to collect applications if we did it at the end of the first week in August. So I'm looking at maybe the 8th or 9th.
That's fine with me, or whatever.
The 8th is a Thursday, the 9th is a Friday. I believe it would take a couple hours.
Yeah, we could schedule another meeting, like a Thursday meeting like we did before. Works good for me. How about you, Jim?
All the same to me.
Jim says okay.
Okay, so I move to schedule a special meeting on August 8th at 10 a.m. to review highway department applications.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to schedule a review of the application for highway department director on August the 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Approved, none opposed. Any other business, Alexis, you know of?
Not from me.
Don, do you have anything else you want to address there?
I don't think so.
Yes, Sharon.
Alan Spring asked me to bring this to the commissioner. There's a hole by a bridge on Iron, between Iron and, it would be east of 150th. It's a new bridge there by Delbert Wackers that they put in years ago. He said there's a hole that needs to be fixed. I don't know why he thought I needed to let you know.
Well, we'll tell the highway department. Hold by Delbert Wackers on the Iron, I know where that is.
Where that new bridge, where they put that new bridge.
Yeah, right, that new bridge across Bullfoot
He said
Creek.
it's just south of it, yeah.
Okay, I'll look at that too. I'm gonna go there with talk to Kent Rahmeier. That's almost on the way anyway there. Okay. Yeah, Jim.
Well, it's my usual concern, and it's good that people bring their road issues into the commission, but it'd be a hell of a lot better if they took them over to the highway department so they can get their expertise and figure out how they're gonna schedule it. So you're gonna waste time going out there and look, then you're gonna go to the highway department, and they're gonna go out there and look, and then they come back and develop a plan, put it on this schedule. And while we're accepting those, it saves everybody time if we go right to the highway department to start with.
Well, I think Kent did that. He said he went there
No, he
before.
said he never did.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, he said he'd been to every county commission since Alan Serene.
Oh,
He'd never
okay.
been to the highway department.
Okay.
Well, I can personally verify that over the last 2.5 years, the majority of the people who come before the commission on road departments, they have stated that the reason is because they have not gotten they have not made any progress by going directly to the highway department in the past. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if we were utilizing Mobile 311 as a program that we already pay for, any person, including a commissioner or a person who lives at the end of a particular road, can access that program and upload their concern directly. So if we want to move into the year 2020 and get up to date with our actual technology, we don't even have to have these people come in person. They don't even have to make extra phone calls for Liz to handle. They can literally update data through an app where then anyone who's in the highway department can see, oh no, there's a tree down on this particular road, and it's instant material that they can use to make decisions as far as information goes.
You mean the general public?
I agree,
Yes.
and that's where all this needs to go, is the highway department first.
Well, I agree, Jim.
And then if you can't get it done, then you can come over here, but they are the ones that fix it.
They should. I agree, Jim.
Well, I was
But-
very pleased to hear that they're utilizing 311 because it's invaluable as far as an information tool for information sharing.
Yeah, Sharon.
In that instance, Jim, we had Michael out there, I don't know how many times, to show him places that need to be fixed. Well, it's now, they've never done anything with it. It's now, ruined our waterways, and in the other place where before they ever put this new culvert in, we told them that was not gonna work, and they said, oh yeah, it will, because they had it engineered. And he was there, we've told him, we've had him go back out, and now he's got the waterway ruined and our field ruined. And we asked him what he's gonna do, nothing.
And that's the case, you come over here and we'll go talk to them. But again, they're the people who's gonna have to fix them. We can't.
I agree, Jim. That's the right, correct process it should go through. But it seems like,
It doesn't
and
do
Alexis
any good.
pointed this out, and Sharon pointed this out, we haven't been getting the performance directly
Well,
that we
And
want.
that was when they first put the culvert in, and that's been several years ago,
I
and also the
understand all that,
bridge.
but we're trying to rectify that with those 5 things we got. We're trying to rebuild the whole thing. And
I agree, Jim, in the
the
future.
whole idea is they're the people who have to fix it, not us.
Right, but it didn't do any good to go to them, and that's why you said, go to them first. Well, we already have,
Well, but
and it
if
did
you-
no good.
If you come here, we still can't fix you up until such time as we get somebody that can give us some technical help here. I mean, we can't
But
go
you've
over
had,
there.
but what I'm saying is you've had
I
him
understand.
hired all this time. You said go to him, but
Yeah.
it didn't do any good to
I
go to
understand
him,
that.
so that's
And
why we're coming
I
to
know
you.
your frustration, but I live with it too. But what I'm saying is, that's where you gotta start. In your case, you started over and didn't get anything, so you come here and see what we can do about it.
And Randy, while you're out that way, if you wanna come by, we'll show you what that is too. Just give us a call.
150th?
Well, right there at our place.
Where do you live for sure? I'm not sure.
I'm right on 120th.
120th and where, what street?
I'm south of Iron.
Yeah, 120th and Iron. Okay, I may stop there.
Yeah, just give us a call and we'll drive you around and show you what.
What's your
we
number? I
got.
don't have it either.
I'll give you Larry's number.
Okay,
It's 658-5825.
yeah, okay. No, I agree, Jim. You're exactly right. That shouldn't be our job we shouldn't be told to do the highway department's job. I agree 1,000%. But it hasn't been getting done correctly.
I know,
We have all these,
We're in the process of fixing
I know.
311 and the new
yeah,
guys,
you're right.
and you gotta make the system work.
Well, and that's what we're wanting to do, and when it does work, then hopefully they won't
Yeah.
come to us with the road issues, they'll go right to the highway department, they'll get them scheduled and they'll do them. And then we don't need, I agree, Jim, I wish it would work that way, what you're
We
wanting.
just gotta stay after it.
Well, we gotta instruct them to do it, yeah. Simple as that.
But you can't go over there and say, fix this road, because they've got a whole county to take care of. And she may have a crisis, but there may be a bigger crisis somewhere else.
Well, that's just it,
That's,
and
you know,
with
But
311.
they should be able to tell you that when you go there.
And with this 311, like Alexis says, also they can prioritize things. Say you got 20 road issues, but they gotta say, this is really needed attention, because somebody could drive off and kill themselves, right? We gotta fix this culvert first, then that'd be second, third, fourth, prioritize things. And yours may not be that critical, so it's 10th on the list, so it may not get done for 3-4 months. You know what I'm saying? But we need to do that. Maybe we already do that. Liz kind of showed us paperwork. They already kind of are doing that, I think. I just didn't realize it before. But,
This is where
No,
the
that
water's gonna
is
be going.
something new that has never been brought before the commission in the 2.5 years that I've been there.
yeah, well, I haven't only been here 6 months, Alexis, so I don't know, but, yeah. I'm just showing Liz is giving us information, schedules for employees, what they're doing, and I just want, that's good for us, and we know when people downtown ask us, what's these guys doing out here, and then we know, because we got a sheet here. That's what I wanna know. I don't wanna tell them how to go out and run a grader.
I think you got the system under rebuild, and I think it'll work eventually.
Yeah, right.
It'll
I
take
agree
more
too.
time.
I agree too, Jim. We'll get there. Well, anything else, Alexis?
Not from me.
Well, I think that's, anybody else have any issues? More? Well, I guess then you wanna adjourn us, Alexis? You're still the chairman.
Sure, I will adjourn us until Monday at 10 a.m. in the commission room.
Okay.
Oh, Wednesday, payroll.
Wednesday, we got payroll Wednesday, but for us.
Day after tomorrow.
Are you gonna be back in town or are you still out there?
No, I'm not actually. I extended my stay, so I totally forgot this is the last week of the month. Okay, so Wednesday is payroll, so I apologize. Then we will reconvene on Wednesday. Is 10 o'clock still
Yeah.
good?
Sounds good to me. 10.
Okay.
Okay, call in and if you want, we'll talk to you then.
Are we
All right,
stuck
thank
on,
you.
are we always stuck on 10 o'clock? I like 9 o'clock.